Hello once again, everybody. Welcome to the Mario Cristobal Show. Joe Zagacki alongside Don Bailey Jr. University of Miami head coach Mario Cristobal joins us momentarily. Saturday, 3:30, Miami and Florida. The Hurricanes, and as we say around here, the Gator. Are you ready?
Oh, I've been ready since January 1st. When I knew it was the opening game of this season, it got my blood ready to go.
The Gators have won 34 straight home openers. 34 years in a row, they've won the home opener. So the first thing Miami has to deal with is the home field.
That they do, Joe, and that's a big deal. It's a loud, aggressive, hostile environment, and the good news is that Coach Cristobal has been working on that all summer long. He's been putting his team in a position to handle noise. You will not be in a situation to handle the crowd because you can't simulate that, but certainly being down here on Green Tree, it's equally as hot on Green Tree as it will be at Florida Field.
Two experienced quarterbacks, Graham Mertz, Cam Ward, their career stats are pretty similar.
Yeah, they are, and both of those guys have had outstanding college careers, and I think college football is lucky to have them both back. And I think it'll be an exciting ball game. For some reason, I think it will depend on some people other than them on how this game turns out.
When you play the SEC, they say it's a line of scrimmage league.
There's no question about it. I think that in the film study that I've done, Florida's offensive line is very good. Their defensive line is very impressive. And Miami, under Coach Cristobal, has built up both sides of that line of scrimmage to compete against Southeastern Conference football.
Last time these two teams played in Orlando, it was a 4-point game. It was there for Miami to win.
Yeah, it was there. A fumble, I believe, is one of the reasons that Miami wasn't able to close out. But this Florida Field is not the Swamp, and Miami gets to go to Gainesville and test their will against the Gator.
Gators had only 7 takeaways all of last year. Canes will have to protect the football. When we come back, we'll hear from University of Miami head coach Mario Cristobal on the Mario Cristobal Show right after this. Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the Mario Cristobal Show as we kick off the 2024 University of Miami college football season. Alongside Mario Cristobal, Don Bailey Jr., Joe Zagacki, Miami and the Florida Gators on Saturday at 3:30 from the Swamp. What a way to start the season, and we will get to plenty of Gator talk. But Coach, welcome to the 2024 season. Training camp complete, all eyes on Gainesville. But as you take a look at training camp, what were some of the best parts of it for you?
I think the best part was everything that led up to training camp. You know, the type of off-season we had, the winter conditioning program, the signing classes, the portal additions, the development of our current players, some of the guys that were banged up, getting healed up and participating, and then just getting better and taking major roles on the team. So all in all, a team coming together and thinking team first and working hard.
Coach, what are some of the secrets as far as trying to create culture with 40 or 41 new players from January to today? It's got to be a challenge.
Well, I think it's what the world is now. I think it's probably more norm than not, as crazy as that sounds. And I think when you get here in January, it's different. And we had some seasoned guys that came in that really want to win, you know, and they saw opportunity, and they also saw some pieces that were in place that led them to feel strongly about, hey, if I could be the missing piece at this position that can make this happen. And so they're very like-minded individuals. The guys that are here have been just awesome in terms of working hard to continue to build the program. So the transition was a great one, you know, and we've certainly appreciated everyone's effort in making it happen. Led to a great camp.
A lot of off-season talk, or in training camp talk, about quarterback Cam Ward and his work ethic. Maybe we can discuss a little bit why his work ethic has been such a positive on the program.
I mean, hard work and good people is, you know, almost undefeated, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the guy was raised the right way. He's got awesome parents. He's strong-minded, tough, hardworking, driven, humble human being, and happens to be uber talented. And he just wants to win. He wants to win. He wants to impact this program. He chose Miami when he could have gone anywhere else because of his belief in the people and the system and the parts around him. It's been awesome to watch him work. He's super competitive. He plays a game, he plays a position like a linebacker, really. So he's awesome to be around.
Coach, let's stay on him for a moment. The thing that I've been impressed with is I mean, he beats everybody to the office. Maybe not you, but a lot of people to the office. And that's not just once, that's every day, but he also stays after practice and has spent time on developing his own chemistry with this football team. And you can't really ask for much more than that.
No, and you could see he's not a guy seeking attention.
That's true.
He's not interested in that stuff. He's not, and it just goes to show the last couple of weeks you probably haven't heard much from him at all, and that's fine with him. He's focused on what he has to focus on, and so are the rest of our guys. So it's a blessing to have Cam Ward here.
22 years old, 45 career starts. It's nice to have that kind of experience at that position.
Without a doubt, he started at different places, in different systems, with different personnel. He's played from behind, he's played with leads, he's played in different conferences, different parts of the country with different weather. I mean, he's been all over, and he's certainly he's established himself here in the last 9 months as a guy that is just ready to work and ready to help take Miami to another level.
Was fortunate that he came in January. Damon Martinez came in the summer and has had a very good camp and is very impressive as well.
Without a doubt, just a very tough-minded, hard-working guy. A guy, if you watch his film, the way he plays, the way he approaches his craft, he goes after it hard, very physical, but he's also fast, explosive, and elusive. And the best part, he's hungry. He feels that he's nowhere near as good as he can be. He comes to work every day trying to get better. And that's our commitment to him. So we're just trying to get better every single day in every way.
Might as well stay on running backs for a moment. What have you seen from that position with the running backs alongside Damian Martinez?
I've seen a lot of competition, a lot of guys that have done a really good job of welcoming competition. Mm-hmm. It's not an ominous presence or whatnot. You know what I mean? I think sometimes when you have a room that acquires more talent, some people get almost offended, or they tend to shell up or whatnot. It's been the opposite. A.J. Allen has been awesome. Chris Johnson has been awesome. Chris Wheatley-Humphrey got banged up a little bit, but he's on the mend and he's okay now, so he missed a little bit of time. But Jordan Lyle has been great. I mean, Mark Fletcher has been practicing with us 100%, for about 3.5, 4 weeks now, and looks great. So all those guys have a really neat battle going. We're different in all those body types. We're big, we're strong, we're fast. We got slash runners, we got one-cut runners. We got a little bit of everything in that room, and those guys are fun to be around.
You've created the same versatility at the wide receiver spot too. You got a bunch of different body shapes and sizes and looks there as well.
Getting better. Again, our roster has taken shape more and more as the years go by, and certainly took a pretty big step this past season.
Coach, how do you approach, I guess this is more strategically the playbook stuff, when you have a lot of guys, this is going to be the norm, right? Guys coming in later, not late, but coming in at spring or after spring. Do you tailor it for them to get used to you, or do you have to find what's good for their tendencies?
You've always got to have a base, a foundation, but you have to put players first. It's always about the players. Players over plays 100%. So what do some guys do well that maybe you haven't done, but that you can research and you can make some tweaks here and there to make it happen and make it a reality? And so, but you always make sure that you recruit guys with transparency and clarity, so they understand what they're coming into and what they have to do to be an impact player, right? Because if you don't, it never works, right? The whole foundation has to be trust and honesty. And so when you do that and you start to increase the amount of capable weapons that you have on your roster, you start expanding more and more. And I think our coordinators and coaches have done a really good job of that.
Coach, the value of having both your coordinators come back is huge. Yes. Makes a big difference. Defensively, Coach Guidry's back, but you got a lot of new faces on that side of the football. Maui Noah's a linebacker. What a great leader he's turned out to be.
Awesome leader. Another guy, man. Him and his brother, whole family, just hard-working, tough, high care factor people. That just want to continue to get better. And they're really driven. They really want to make this opportunity one that they can really, like, the impact on others for them is a real thing. They want to win, and they want to be a reason why, one of the reasons why Miami is doing well again.
This is what's happening with your team and your roster, because you talk a little bit like that about several players. Reuben Bain, he wants to have an impact, has an impact, and he always seems to me always striving to get better.
Well, Just got to build it, and we've taken some really, really good, strong steps as a program to do so. Ruben Bain is getting better because he is challenged by his teammates. The guys that are competing for his playing time and the guys that he's got to line up across every single day. And that's not only recruiting, a certain caliber of athlete, but also a mentality that comes with that particular player that's going to push and drive and not shy away from what comes with that. I mean, when you put a bunch of alphas together, typically it gets pretty heated and physical and competitive. And the goal for us is to get those guys working in the same direction with each other to make a tremendous push.
Ruben's got to be happy to have Mesidor back too, because Mesidor just creates more problems for the offense.
Mesidor I can't say enough about the type of camp that he's had. Really excited to watch him play again.
On that competition note, a couple weeks ago, I spoke to Jalen Rivers, and he said, man, there are no reps that you get off anymore. If I'm not dealing with Ruben Bain, I'm dealing with Mesidor. If beside him, it's Barrow or somebody else on that defensive line. There are no off reps for anybody.
Getting better, that's the bottom line. Getting better. We've practiced to a point where we've improved ourselves in the trenches on both sides with our pad level, our technique, our physicality, and it's got to keep getting better. And it'll be tested because we play a very large offense and defensive line up in Gainesville this coming weekend.
Coach, you lost a lot of people in the secondary, and that required some rebuilding. How has that gone from January to August?
It's been exciting because these guys can flat out play. They're explosive, they're fast, they've got great ball skills. These guys, some have waited their turn, but some stepped in last year as well. Jadis Richards stepped in, Damari Brown stepped in, right? Jaden Harris stepped in, when Cam was down for a couple of days. Markeith Williams all of a sudden is playing really good football. We signed some good freshmen. Mish Powell has been incredible, as a player and as a leader. So we've got some really good pieces that everyone's really excited about, and those guys, they're looking forward to the challenge. They know that they've been questioned a little bit, and that's all right by them.
We're going to get to the Gators in a moment. We do have some changes in the game. Technology comes into the game this year, right? Coaches can talk to players on the field, kind of like the NFL, and we have a 2-minute timeout. College football calls it the timeout, not the 2-minute warning, but we do have a 2-minute timeout that is entered into college football.
Sure, you got to factor in all those things, and certainly we did extensive research and met extensively with different NFL teams on how the usage of the 2-minute timeout, right? And how you use timeouts around it, both offensively and defensively. And situational football was certainly expanded throughout camp as well, so that we take advantage of every opportunity and every scenario with our staff and players, to do everything we can to put ourselves in the best spot to make it work.
Coach, one thing you do constantly is put your players and your team in every situation imaginable, and you do it more than once. They've seen everything that you can think of multiple times, and the importance of that.
Well, now the importance is carried over to the game. Right. But, I mean, you're supposed to play the game every day, right? I mean, you play the game before you play the game on a daily basis, right? Every block, every tackle, every throw, every catch, every pass defended, all that stuff. You do it again and again and again, so it becomes second nature. And when football becomes second nature for a player, special things happen, and we want those things to become second nature for our guys.
Thank you, Coach. Time now for our high performance moment presented by Kia. We'll do this each and every week. Last year, the game record, number 44, Ruben Bain.
I think he'll step it up another notch, Joe. He went from 44 to number 4, but he possesses all the skills that you want at the defensive line position. He can play multiple spots along the front. He's got great power and burst, and is more prepared this year than he was last.
He'll wear number 4 this season, Ruben Bain. Our high performance moment presented by Kia. It's the Hurricanes and the Gators from the Swamp on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. 57th meeting between Miami and Florida. Hurricanes lead the all-time series 29-27. What a way to start the season. A rivalry game against the Florida Gators. This is the kind of game, I guess, during training. I guess during training camp, all eyes can be pointed toward a big opening game.
I still think you have to put the eyes on yourself first, right? Before you go and play anybody, you got to know exactly who you are. You got to establish your identity. And we had a really good idea of that identity because of spring ball and the type of summer that we had. So as we entered camp, the focus was on us, but we would always sprinkle in opponent work, at the end of every day, in the middle of a practice, and then ramped it up more and more over the last week and a half. So all in all, it's been just an awesome camp for the sheer fact that guys got better, people got better, systems got better, second-year coordinators and the involvement of their systems improved. And it's an exciting time. Our players, they put in a lot of time, and the juice and the energy they feel is something that they've been working hard to feel. They're enthused and excited about this game, and they're ready to get to meetings tonight and practice tomorrow.
Coach, you talk about identity, and without question, the blueprint shows you want to be a physical football team. And that just doesn't mean on the offensive side, that means on the defensive side, but you practice that every day.
We do. And you know what? We practice it on the perimeter too. Everybody thinks it's just the trenches. Over the years, we've had great secondaries. We really have. We've had great perimeter blockers in the form of tight ends and wide receivers, fullbacks attached, all that stuff. So, at the end of the day, these games aren't won on paper. And I know the off season's long, so I know you guys got to put out your preseason, super stud this and super stud that, and I get it, but man, all this stuff is settled on the field. You see it every single week in college football, and you're going to see it every single week in college football this season as well. So for us, every ounce of focus on preparing to the best of our abilities.
What are your thoughts on the Gators? What have you seen? And I know it's a little bit difficult first game, a little bit of a guessing game here because they've added some players as well. But your thoughts on facing Florida and what you're up against?
Well, defensively, they're uber talented. They are very multiple in terms of their fronts, their blitz patterns, their coverages and whatnot. They're really big and athletic, really, really big inside. Their front seven certainly has done a really good job knocking people back, and they've done a great job at home playing defense as well, something to point out. And their secondary, they have some new pieces, but they have a lot of experience back there, long and athletic guys. And on the flip side, just enormous offensive line. They do a great job running the ball. They pounded people really well in their conference and outside their conference. Their quarterback he's a game changer. He really is. He certainly, his completion percentage in normal down and distances as well as in pressure situations on third down when faced with pressure is impressive. They've got explosive wide receivers. You've seen enough of their guys to know that they have essentially maybe one of the best receiving corps not only in their conference but maybe the country. So big, powerful tight ends. They're a loaded group. They're one of the most talented teams in the country. They've recruited really well. They've got a lot of really good portal players. It's an awesome opportunity for our program.
Coach, let's go back to the quarterback. Graham Mertz was at Wisconsin, and I don't think people realize nationally, unless you really study it, he was one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the country last year. His touchdown interception ratio and his completion percentage, he's a special talent.
Special talent and second year in the system as well.
Right.
So a guy that certainly you study opponents as thoroughly as you can imagine. The more you watch him, the more you realize what a great player he is.
Wilson is one of those wide receivers, was a 5-star player coming out of high school, had 5 or 6 touchdowns a year ago. They try to get him the ball in a variety of ways. He's a player that has an impact on the game.
He impacts the game in a lot of different ways. As explosive of a player as you'll see in the country. I know he's going to be involved in the return game as well. So a guy that if you watch, their first game against University of Georgia, down there, very first drive, he's the one they hit on a 25, 30-yard touchdown, and he's that fast, he's that explosive. So certainly the quarterback is complemented by a big physical offensive line and some really explosive playmakers.
Coach, one thing that always gets missed at this time of year, especially coming into week one, is special teams. Both sides have got outstanding kickers, and there's as much competition to get on the plane and get on the field on special teams as anywhere on the football field. But you've worked extremely hard. I know you personally are involved in that. How are special teams progressing? Not just the punter and the kicker, but overall.
Tremendous amount of emphasis on protection and coverage, of course, particularly in your punt schemes or whatnot. And we've got some good returners. So you certainly want to spend time, scheming that up, even though nowadays most opponent kickers, they kick the ball right out of the end zone. you still have to be ready for whatever opportunities you get. But certainly, we feel really strongly about our punter, our long snapper, our personnel, our kicker. We know we face a really good kicker, a really good punter, and some really talented athletes in their special teams as well. I mean, it's going to be a tremendous battle, very physical battle of just really high caliber athletes.
You probably say in any game, turnovers, penalties, swing a game. Is it more important in the first game because obviously it's the first game. First game sometimes, you don't get a preseason game. So sometimes first games can be sloppy. So the importance of playing a clean game has to be a priority, right?
Every single game. Yeah. Every single game. You have the opportunity to practice all this time leading up to game one. You switch to scout teams, but you're still going good on a daily basis. You got to go speed on speed, right? So that you don't get faced with that tremendous adjustment on game day when you go against an opponent. But no, it's the things that you mentioned always determine the outcome of a game, right? So tremendous amount of emphasis on all that and more.
Strength and conditioning, big part, especially opening game in South Florida, whether if it was at Hard Rock or it's going to be at the Swamp. It's going to be hot and it's going to be loud, but really the team that's the best condition is going to have a big advantage.
Always does. I mean, football rewards those teams and those players that are in elite condition. And like you said, there's some guarantees in this world. It's going to be hot. It's going to be loud. There's going to be a lot of great players on that field. What a blessing.
It is going to be loud, 88,000. You have been practicing with the crowd noise, so that's a real positive. And you have this, we talked earlier about the technology, being able to talk to players on the field. Does that help with this kind of environment?
I watched week one and I constantly saw like quarterbacks and other players really like squeezing their helmets and making signs, I can't hear. And talking to a lot of NFL coaches, they say that all the time, those systems go out. So you better have your normal systems in place and your backup plans in place as well. And remember, you can talk to one guy. It's not like you could have a conversation, right, with a bunch of guys, and they're not talking back. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one-way communication. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Plus those guys on the field, it's hard enough for you to get the technology in, but just on the field in that environment, talking to the guys along the line of scrimmage is still going to be loud and problematic.
It's why we signed up to play at the University of Miami back in the day. Always you respect your opponent to the fullest, and you live for opportunities like this. And let's go prepare. I mean, let's stay along the lines of preparation, nothing else. That's all we got to focus on.
Coach, the iPad, is that correct? How to describe it on the sideline? That's been established as well. And I know that you've been practicing with it and making it a part of it. How has that benefited the game?
Well, I mean, it's instantaneous shot of what's going on. I'm sure, I could see Coach Kehoe throwing it out. He'd rather draw the big, oval eggs, for offensive linemen on the grease board. But no, you can, sometimes you can miss something. You have a really good idea. If you have a good sets of eyes, you capture just about everything. But every now and then, there's something that you miss. Like you may get away from a play because it got blowed up. It's like, oh man, the guard stepped on the center. That's why we never got that back block. Well, that's a good play. Look at the rest of it. It's blocked perfectly. So there's a lot of things that could come with that coverage standpoint. I mean, there's a lot.
But also, I'm smiling a little bit because a lot of things happen on that sideline. That iPad's a bit of a truth serum, isn't it? You can, the story changes once it's presented a different way.
Yeah, don't exactly. Don't use iPads unless you want the whole truth, right?
That's right.
But no, it's going to be of a tremendous benefit to us. We've used them throughout practice, and we feel that we have simplified its use without making the game too complicated. I mean, you don't have to use it for every little thing, but you do have people assigned to them. You have it so it's systematic, and its usage is something that's efficient and beneficial without being confusing.
Truth serum, that's good. Good one, Don. You played in a couple of Miami, Florida games, but there was a time, 5 of them.
We know.
Your era, I don't think I had a chance to play
Never
in Florida.
played. No, sir.
So I always think this is a great game to be played in the state, and that the kids that play in it is, it's a thrill for them to be able to play against the guys they've grown up with.
No, the amount of energy and passion that surrounds a rivalry like this is something that very few people ever get to experience. And I never got to experience it as a player, but we watched it, all the time. And the fact that our players get to have this as part of their experience at the University of Miami is awesome, because this runs deep. I mean, what's behind this now is, come on now. I mean, it's going to be as hyped up as can be for everything surrounding, while we keep our heads cool so that we can, create the right kind of juice and the right kind of energy. But it's awesome.
Last thing for you, high school football, Little League football, it all got underway this weekend. Wherever you go to a Little League game, the parks are packed. Go to a high school game, parks are packed. But I also noticed that the high school games, a lot of orange and green at the high school games, Coach. Not only in the stands, but I see little orange and green tags on a lot of helmets now.
Well, Miami is working its way to where it needs to be, and it's doing it the right way, and our best ambassadors are the players within this program. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome to see our players back at their respective high school games and wearing proudly the orange and green, because again, those are always going to be the best ambassadors and the best recruiters. And if they're developing and growing and excelling here, well, you know what? Their more prominent teammates are going to join them eventually as well.
All right, the very best of luck on Saturday against the Gators. All right, that's University of Miami head coach Mario Cristobal. We'll continue on the show right after this. Happy to welcome you back to the Mario Cristobal Show, Miami and Florida, Saturday, 3:30 in Gainesville. Joe Zagacki, Don Bailey Jr., the quarterbacks, Cam Ward, 45th start. Graham Mertz, 44th start. Cam Ward last year completed over 65% of his passes. Graham Mertz completed 72% of his passes, albeit 31% behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, that's a big point. Now, Cam Ward likes to push it downfield. Mertz was a high percentage thrower, and it was mostly because of the routes that he was presented with. I again say that you're going to see two of the best college quarterbacks this coming Saturday. True
or untrue? Biggest change for the Miami squad going in, the defensive line.
True. I think that's a true. There's a couple other spots too, though, Joe. But yes, true. It's a big change there, and they are deep and they are talented. They've gained size, and I expect them to be very productive.
You know what you're going to get from Ruben Bain. 3 other guys are in there, transferred from Tennessee, Michigan State, and Akeem Mesidor.
Yeah, I think Akeem Mesidor coming back is the best thing that can happen to Ruben Bain. He needs somebody, especially after last year. He was featured in a freshman All-American, an ACC Freshman of the Year, and now everybody has the spotlight on Ruben Bain. He needs someone else for that offensive line not to slide to or double team, and Akeem Mesidor might be that person.
Canes and the Gator on Saturday, 3:30 from Florida Field. Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, Florida Field. It should just be outstanding. For head coach Mario Cristobal and Don Bailey Jr., I'm Joe Zagacki. We'll see you next week on the Mario Cristobal Show.